we got to start really looking at who we are asking to do what. This is what Sean Payton said in his press conference after the Broncos scored 2 field goals, 6 points, and lost to the Steelers at home to fall to 0-2. And I think we might be seeing some major changes coming before week 3 against the Buccaneers, because so far things are not going well for Sean Payton and the Broncos. It's back-to-back 0-2 start seasons for Payton in Denver. And we're going to look at 3 areas that Sean Payton might be alluding, hinting, or looking at changing before they go across the country and play in Southwest Florida. So the first change I could see the Broncos making, it starts with the ground game. Whether that's a personnel change, like benching Javonte Williams or giving Jaleel McLaughlin more touches, or just an overall schematic change when it comes to the offensive line and the way they want to run the football. But of course, all eyes are on Bo Nix, but I think we got to look at the ground game first before we talk about Bo Nix. Now, unfortunately, it's not going to get any easier. Mike McGlinchey was placed on injured reserve. This is not groundbreaking news. It was announced earlier this week that he suffered an MCL sprain and he was going to miss some time. The question was, would it be enough time to warrant going to IR, missing 4 weeks minimum, but also opening up a roster spot, which Denver opted to do, and they brought up outside linebacker DeAndre Tillman from the practice squad since Baron Browning is battling a foot injury. But the ground game has been putrid. I actually shocked it's not the worst in the NFL just by rushing yards through 2 weeks. There are actually teams doing worse. I think the Raiders have a worse ground game so far, but that's mostly because Bo Nix has 60 yards from a couple of scrambles. It's not like he's been designing runs for him up the gut and things like that. But of course, a lot of the pressure and the blame is falling on Javonte Williams. He's the starting running back for this unit, and he's averaging a little over 2 yards a carry. It's just simply not acceptable, and it's not going to cut it, especially 2 weeks in. These are bad enough numbers where alarm bells should start going off. But I went back and rewatched the game against the Steelers, and then I watched the All-22 tape. And I noticed a couple of things from Javonte Williams' runs, which I think are worth pointing out. So let's look at this run play early on in the Steelers game and look at what Mike McGlinchey is going to do on this play, okay? This is supposed to be a simple run up the middle on the left side of the offensive line between your guard, your center, and the A gap or the 1 gap, or between your tackle and your guard. And look where Mike McGlinchey and his defensive end up. Somehow they go from the right tackle position all the way over to the left tackle position. To me, this is just execution. I don't know what Javonte Williams is supposed to do here if the right tackle's guy is going completely across the defensive line and McGlinchey is going on a ride with him. How about this other run from the game? I mean, Quinn Meinerz is just a big fat whiff on this play. And hey, that happens every so often, but you probably expect a little bit more from one of the highest paid guards in football. And so by the time Javonte gets the football here, where is he supposed to go? Maybe he can make a nice cut to the left, but that's not where the design is supposed to be. In fact, if Quinn Meinerz holds his block here, look at the other 4 linemen around Meinerz on the ground. They're all doing a pretty decent job, and they're all in pretty good spots. But this is just lack of execution from the offensive line. So don't be so quick to point to Javonte Williams as an awful running back this year. He's not getting a ton of help up front. Now, there are also instances where he does not really help his own cause. Moving along, how about this play? I mean, we've got Ben Powers and Luke Wattenberg double-teaming Cam Hayward in the middle. And then you've got just a free blitzer coming between the left tackle and the left guard. And once again, before Bo Nix can really even hand this football off to Williams, there is a defender right in his face for a 5-yard loss. And by the way, I'm not even sure if this is supposed to be correctly executed this way, but I've got Garett Bolles, for some reason, what's supposed to be, I think, a run to the right, engaging with Alex Highsmith. If everyone is supposed to block down to the right on this play, why is Bolles not picking up this blitzer so that the double team on Cam Hayward can be executed? So to me, it doesn't seem like the offensive line is correctly in sync on that individual play, but we're noticing a lot of plays where the offensive line is not doing a lot of help for the ground game. So don't get me wrong, Javonte Williams has lacked the burst, the separation, the ability to generate yards after contact, but when he gets the football and there's a free rusher right in his face who comes in completely untouched, I don't care who the running back is. What is he supposed to do there? So who do you think the bigger issue is so far offensively? Bo Nix, or we can just kind of lump in the entire ground game, the running backs and the offensive line. It's bad on both fronts, but to me, watching the game back over again, I was disturbed with how bad the offensive line was when it came to run blocking. The PFF run blocking grades, by the way, support this. The best of the bunch has been Mike McGlinchey, who just went down for the next 4 weeks. It's been bad across the board. Quinn Meinerz, the best offensive lineman of the five-some, has been the worst run blocker. So there is plenty of blame to go around here. The only good news I can offer you is whenever you see, like, say, a quarterback or a wide receiver kind of get into a funk, there's a lot of really good ways you can kind of scheme them into maybe getting into some type of rhythm or momentum. Like if it's a wide receiver, you're like, all right, let's get this guy early. Let's get this guy the ball early in the game. Let's design plays where he's the focal point of it. We can get him the ball in space, and then we can kind of get into a rhythm. With offensive line, that's not really feasible. I mean, you could do a couple of things, right? You can maybe give some chips and some helps and things like that. But at the end of the day, they just got to wake up pissed off that the film was embarrassing for them on Sunday. And they got to go out the next week and just completely turn things around, which they are capable of doing. Like, it's not like quarterbacks where you can see guys kind of rise and fall so dramatically week to week. You can see offensive linemen have a bad game on Sunday and be pissed off that they were embarrassed and they were just pushed over, and then followed up the very next week by dominating. So hopefully we see just overall better execution from the offensive line to help the ground game, which is going to help Bo Nix out a ton. And we'll talk about Bo Nix in more detail. But I do want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor today, which is Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. If you want to catch a Broncos game, a Rockies game, a Nuggets game, an Avs game, or any other local sporting event, download the Game Time app today and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. I put all that information in the comments and description of today's video, but take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. They have so many great deals for Broncos country. I love the Game Time Picks, which filters out sort of the fluff, if you will, and just gives you the best value. Download the Game Time app today and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but once again, redeem code CHAT Sports for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. A change I'd also like to see Denver make going into week 3. Can we just get anything from any tight end? I mean, if you think about rookie quarterback, first thing that kind of pops in your head, comfortability. What can we do to make our rookie quarterback comfortable? And a lot of things can get done. A good ground game, right? So that there's less on his plate and some of the pressure can be deviated over to the running backs. How about a nice safety blanket, right? A guy that he can comfortably go to on 3rd and short to move the sticks. And more often than not, that's your tight end. Here's the issue. They're getting nothing from their tight ends. I think Dulcich might have more drops than grabs this year. Trotman, Akins, Lucas Kroll, whole bunch of zero burgers out of those 3 guys. The tight end room has been a ghost. Denver basically walks out onto the field and they're playing 10 on 11. I'm not seeing anything from the tight ends in run blocking or in pass catching. This is a lot of execution. I mean, these are just guys not doing their job, right? These are Jimmys and Joes that are getting outmatched by the other team. But of course, there's a little bit of blame that can go on the coaching staff. But at the same time, this is a coaching staff that constructed this roster and opted to not really go external for tight end this year, right? They brought back all the same tight ends from last year. Dulcich and Trotman leading the way. And ultimately, you kind of get what you pay for. And right now, they haven't really invested much in that position group, and it is showing on the field. So hopefully this group can kind of just wake up ticked off and pissed off and decide to come out and have their best game yet. But I don't have any other solution for why the tight end room is just a vacancy at the moment, other than they are not executing. Third change. Now we get to Bo Nix. I think Sean Payton needs to simplify things a little bit for Nix, right? Like I just mentioned a moment ago, you want to get your rookie quarterback comfortable. And a lot of that can be done with play action and a good ground game. Now, unfortunately, it's not easy for Sean Payton in his defense to get a good play action game going if the defense does not respect your ground game whatsoever. I was also, I guess we'll call pleasantly surprised to look at the first down play calling through the first 2 weeks. How it's been very balanced. I mean, a lot of times you see teams start to get caught up in the trends and what the analytics say. And the analytics say you got to pass on first down, right? You got to get big chunks of yardage. But the old timer in me says you got to run on first down so you can always stay ahead of the sticks and not put yourself in third and long. I mean, look at Bryce Young, for example. He just got benched. Why? Well, because they didn't really establish a good ground game on first or second down, and he always found himself in third and long. What happens in third and long? Well, if you're 3rd and 10 versus 3rd and 5, that's an extra 5 yards your receivers have to run. And that takes time. And you know what happens in that time? You get sacked. You make a bad decision. You try to bite more off than you can chew because you got to go for 15 yards instead of 5 yards. And that's when interceptions come into play. That's when fumbles come into play because you're holding onto the ball for too long. So for Bo Nix and for the Broncos, they got to simplify things, right? And it's a tough balance because you don't want to find yourself in third and long. You want to find yourself at third and manageable, so you're not holding on to the ball for too long. But if you're not getting anything out of the ground game, on 1st and 10, if you run it with Javonte, you're kind of signing yourself up for 2nd and 9. That's not very inspiring. So I can somewhat sympathize with Sean Payton here because he's kind of tough. He's stuck between a tough and a rock and a tough place, or he's stuck between a rock and a hard place. Does he want to run it for 2 yards and face 2nd and 8? Or does he want to pass for potential incompletion and then later down the road find himself in 3rd and long where Nix throws an interception because he has to chuck it down the field, or he takes a sack because he has to hold on to the ball for an eternity? I don't envy Sean Payton's position right now to make that decision. But here's my wish list, though, for Sean Payton and for the Broncos going into Tampa Bay. Better execution at the line. I think a lot of times when things aren't going well, the natural reaction from the fan base is, well, the blame has to get put on the coaching staff and the play calling. The play calling is always the first thing that gets blamed when things aren't going well offensively. Don't get me wrong, I'm not here to defend the play calling, but the execution by the 11 guys on the field has to be better. It doesn't really matter who's calling the plays. If you can't hold a block, you're not going anywhere. Then, early down runs. This kind of ties in with the execution, but also, not that I think that 2nd and 8 is a whole lot better than 2nd and 10 or 3rd and 8, or 3rd and 10, but you at least got to make an effort to get out of 3rd and long, because 3rd and long is a horrible place to be with a rookie quarterback. And you can avoid that with some early down runs. And then finally, let's get some play action going. Not that Sean Payton has completely avoided play action, but if we go back to the basics of what makes a rookie quarterback comfortable, running the football and play action, right? Making the defense think for just a split second, this might be a run. No, it's a pass. Now, when you do play action, you don't get the big chunk plays more often than not, but we can live with that right now. Let's just focus on getting on a bus schedule and sticking to it. All right. That is going to do it for today's episode when it comes to my wish list. Before we go, a couple of quick housekeeping notes. First off, who you got? Broncos or Bucks? Like, I can kind of close my eyes and try and picture, one of those no one saw it coming upsets of the weekend, any given Sunday. You know, it can happen to anyone. But the Bucks are looking really good. They're undefeated. So I'm inclined to go with Tampa Bay, but I'll probably talk myself into Denver by kickoff. And also, I want to show some love to the Blue and Orange Club. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. Slap yourself. Big shout out to I Don't Give a Buck, who is the MVP of our Week 2 watch party. John E., a longtime viewer of the channel as well. Thank you so much for going above and beyond. If you want to get shout outs for the entire 2024 season, $100 super chat during our next watch party, it will add you to the club.